All right. All right. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another podcast episode. Today I'm here with Jarvis, and Jarvis is a cosmic being, a multi hyphenate, DJ, yogi, artist, all around persona. Jarvis is in Chicago, and that's a space where he's currently, offering his yoga teachings, doing some DJing out in the city and basically sharing his light with the world. So, Jarvis, welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Ooh,
Hello, everybody.
you got to make some ASMR videos.
I got that too when you say multifaceted.
Ah,
Look me up on YouTube
yeah.
under Akacius Paige, ASMR, queer cannabis ASMR.
Okay. Okay. Plug for the cannabis.
Oh,
ASMR.
it's like the way of the world. You must constantly be plugging yourself. If not, how will
Yeah.
people know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dang. Well, just again, thank you for being here. Look forward to this one. Had a chance to talk with you a little bit, before we jumped on right here. Jarvis is somebody I go back with a little bit. I knew him, a little earlier when he was kind of getting going with his yoga journey. So it's nice to know that you're still on that, still offering, a practice to the community and to others. And, I think that's in a lot of places a good jump off for artists and for a lot of people. uh, there's something about that, yoga as union, right? Mind, body, soul
Yeah.
coming together, and maybe that's a good place to start. Like, tell me a little bit about your yoga from then to now, and maybe how yoga relates to you creating art.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who are in the yoga community are creatives. I also think it's like a part of um, the energy. I think people gravitate to yoga because it is this sort of freeing experience. And I think when I say freeing, I mean like free body freeing, that like there's something about freeing the space in the body that naturally correlates to everything else in life. I say that in my yoga class all the time. But I think that there is some deep connection to this when someone is really connected to themselves and really knows themselves and knows their body, that they're able to create on a different level than most, I'll
Hmm.
say.
Hmm.
As far as my yoga journey, it's a journey. I'm still telling myself that I'm in the beginning process of it. I think when I met you, I was super, super, super new to it. Well, new to teaching.
Yes.
Um, and I think actually, I thought about it. I met you before you lived in this house across the street from me. But I don't know if we ever actually met, but I saw you quite frequently at that little purple house on Olive, I think.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a lot of fun.
but when I met you again, or when we reacquainted, I guess, um, I was just in a place of one discovering that I could be a creative in this weird magical world that we live in. And I think I was working at the little Tex Pop Museum in,
Hmm.
in San Antonio. And I was just on the brink of a lot of things there. I was on the brink of discovering myself as a creative director, discovering myself fully coming into that like creative space and
Hmm.
saying that I belong there.
Yeah.
I still battle with that sometimes.
Sure.
But then the yoga thing was the conduit to me saying, okay, I've outgrown this. What is next for me?
Hmm.
Um, and I think I had just gotten back from the Bahamas and I was like, I want to start teaching yoga here. So I started teaching yoga. You showed up and it was like, um, thank you, first of all, for being that validation that I belong. I think my yoga journey since then has been fucking crazy um, because of the aspects of image, the aspect of what I think people in America think yogis should look like.
Hmm.
So you showing up then has played this tremendous part in who I am in this present moment, because now I know like people have shown up before for me and that I belong in these sort of spaces. I think
Mhm.
the idea of like finding freedom through expression comes into mind, that like if somebody, even if it's one person, likes or supports somehow, and it's truly genuine and it's truly authentic, it will give you the like juice to go a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I think a part of you being in that space was a little bit of that juice to go. And then I was able to be like, all right, I'm ready to move on to Chicago. We worked together doing some photos and videos and stuff. And I think it really sealed this mindset of me being like, I can be a creative person. I originally left San Antonio to come to Chicago and start like this sort of yoga gallery kind of thing,
Mhm.
coming soon.
And what's
But
present day Chicago yoga like for you?
huh?
What's present day Chicago yoga for you?
It is challenging. um it's challenging because I did not understand that the yoga community was extremely whitewashed. And I have been profiled in every which way you can think. I also have a very loud appearance. I have bright colored hair. I usually have some funky glasses on. I have acrylic nails. I used to smell delicious. Um, and then I show up with all of this liberation, right?
Uh-huh.
We're talking about freedom through
Yes.
expression.
Yeah.
Part of my expression is who I am every day when I walk out the door.
Mhm.
I don't really have to paint it, or sometimes I do,
Mhm.
but it lives with me all the time. So when I show up in these spaces that are usually comfortable with 90 to 110-pound white girls, it
Mhm.
is very rough. I think um, that the yoga community in America is flawed. And I
Okay.
have come to realize that even more being here,
Mhm.
and how I've gone about trying to work with people. Right now, I work for a private business that does like private things in luxury apartments and big businesses.
Mhm.
So that feels a little bit more safer for me, because ish to an extent.
Uh,
I actually just had an experience this Sunday. I've been teaching at this place for, I can't even 4 years now, and at the beginning of it, they always gave me sort of a key fob. Cut to the pandemic, they stopped with the key fob thing, probably because of the exchange of hands and all of that. But
yeah.
they stopped with that. Actually, it's not that. Somebody has like played foul with the key fob and has not returned one, I guess.
Sure.
And so they're like, we're not giving it out. I've asked several times, like, hey, can you let somebody know that I need to be let in or give me the key fob? So nobody has ever really assessed that. And I've told them, like, you don't know how much anxiety you have to be someone who looks like me, sitting outside of this predominantly white space, inside of this luxury apartment, waiting to try to ask someone to get inside of this gym,
Sure.
and like the amount of distrust because of what I look like
Uh-huh.
that makes people afraid to even let me in. So it happened again on Sunday, and I was like, I needed to pee. So I have a journey. So I live in West Chicago, and I'm going all the way downtown. So I go a long time on public transit,
Yes.
almost an hour.
Okay.
So I drink a lot of water. I'm hydrated because my skin has to look good. um,
Hydrated,
so when
glowing,
I
ready to
yeah,
be.
thank you.
Okay.
So when I get there, it's like I have to pee, and I had this moment of thinking on Sunday, like, this is like, I don't know if you ever seen the scene in The Help where the house lady has to use the bathroom, and the white woman, wouldn't let her use the bathroom, and
Okay.
it felt just like that. And I was like, and I know people might hear this and be like, oh, this is whatever, and it's like, no, but this is my weird neurodivergent mind and how it formulates things. It's going to give it a storyline, because now I'm sitting here almost about to pee on myself, and every person I ask to let me in there won't let me in there.
Uh-huh.
So now I have to wait for my students to show up, which I'm supposed to be there 15 minutes before, but I can't set up until my students come in, which may be 10:05, 10:15 sometimes. So I'm in this position where I'm just waiting, and I can't access a space that I have all rights to be in.
Wow. Okay.
Um, so it becomes a real challenge when you're faced with that. Or I've had, a woman ask me if I was the teacher, and I was like, yeah, and then proceed to leave my class. And she was like, no, 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 this isn't what I signed up for. And I was like, it's a free class that's given by your building. Like, just take the fucking yoga class.
All right, let's flip it, because I hear you. I want you to know I definitely hear you on some of these challenges, but I also know that you are more. So I want to hear, like, how are you flipping the script, and how are you bringing your presence into these spaces aside from, and don't think I'm blushing over that or anything, because I do hear you and I acknowledge you for sure. Like, and
Mhm.
can see the situation play out, and we all can have seen a situation like that. But I want to know, on the other side of that, the people that are connecting and stuff, like, how are you, or even those people that are maybe not wanting to give you the time, how are you, I don't want to say demanding, but how are you, you
Well,
know
I think that
doing
is,
for
I think
yourself?
the end of that story I was going with there. I have another class right after that makes
Mhm.
up for that space.
Okay.
Um, so though I may have to endure that in one space, in another space, I am completely welcome for who I am.
Yeah.
And the thing that I realize is, one, not everybody is going to like me. Not everybody has to agree with me. Not everybody has to agree with who I am.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that all I can do is really keep doing who I am, and
Hmm.
those who show up will show up.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about that woman who left the class is all of the people afterwards said she missed a good class because of her stupidity.
Sure.
You know, because that's the thing. I can't change anybody. I can just show up as I am.
Yeah.
And you have every, you know, reason to like me or not like me. Whatever that reason is fine. The class after that makes up for it, because they demanded, first of all, it wasn't a class, and then they demanded for me to be, I came and substituted for like 2 weeks, and they were
Mm.
like, we need this all the time, you know? And the crazy thing is, they're an older generation, like probably the generation that most people think would not be cool with a pink haired, long acrylic nail gay guy,
Yeah.
But they are very welcoming. And the only thing that I can really say about like yoga here in Chicago is that
Uh,
like it's real clear on who they want and who they don't want. You just have to find your own space.
okay.
And in that own space is where, again, like I said, the ability to express myself fully as I am is
Hmm.
this idea of freedom for me. Um, and that like I am not going to alter that anymore, because I have altered it enough for people. So
Hmm.
she doesn't like my class, that's fine. I'm going to a class. I'm going to 12 people after this who love me. Go on about your day. I wasn't even, and I think that was the life changing part, is that in the end, I was like telling these, and it's a class of white women. I'm
Yeah.
like, and they're trying to defend her, or they're trying to defend it, and it's like, look, she's
You're here.
entitled to whatever she wants to feel or do.
Yeah.
I realize I'm a male. Maybe she didn't. We could sit here and speculate,
Hmm.
but I'm going to go on about my business. Yeah, I might tell this story again to somebody, but it's only to help people recognize that, like, you lose out on experiences when you're not willing to just say, let me see what this is about.
Gosh, isn't that such a yoga thing too? Like sit through the pain, feel.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like, and my second class is like older white males, and they're
wow.
like bringing me Wall Street Journal clippings of yoga and telling me about new music that they're like experiencing, and like it's 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 a it's the authentic, like the authenticity that I think alters the perception of all of these experiences. Yes, the other first experiences were shitty, but on down the line it's not. And that is one moment compared to all of the other great moments, because at this point I'm just creating all of the good moments for myself. Even
Yeah.
when it feels like that. Even when
Mhm.
it's like, oh, like I can conceptualize being like, oh, this is fucked up, but then I'm just like, also it's a safety issue. They can't just let somebody they don't know in who doesn't clearly have a key in.
Yeah.
But the racial bystanders on that is something to be looked at. It's something to be invested in and free yourself from that shit.
Yeah.
Um, you
Yeah.
know, but
Uh,
I find great joy in just showing up. And like I said, the expression is a part of that. Let me express myself as I am.
what other environments are you showing up and putting yourself to express and to create, outside of yoga?
A lot of what I do is online. Um, yes, I do go out and do things,
Mhm.
but a lot of what I do, as especially in forms of expressing myself, is online. Um, I want to show people that it's okay to get really personal with yourself.
Mhm.
Um, so I can't do that. I can do that by me walking around being who I am, and I'm pretty sure people see me and they're like, "Wow, he's real brave." I am. Sorry, you're not. But I got to do what I got to do because I only get one lifetime that I'll remember to be here. So this makes me happy. Like, like when I go out having long nails, I always see men looking like, what the fuck is going on? But then at the same time, it's like, I'm just living my life. I've always loved long nails. I love my mom. My mom had long nails. I've always had long nails. Like, I want to do my nails. I want them to be pretty and express me and what I want to do. I'm not worried about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But showing up in all spaces that way. But for me, the online experience is where I can actually engage a conversation. Um, that is where the magic happens for me, because I'm
Mm.
like, I am able to, and also I've had to break down not caring.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time caring about what people perceive me as.
Mhm.
That in the last year or so, I've really just come into the idea, and actually, I would say, no, I'm gonna say the last year or so, because the last year has actually been my biggest freeing moment that I think I've had as an adult. I've had other moments where I was like, this feels good, like, getting away from my parents or shit like that. But now there's this like profound, like, oh my God, I'm out here just expressing myself,
Mhm.
and nobody can tell me that it's right or wrong because it's mine.
Mhm.
I have I have an OnlyFans. That is
Wow.
another one way that I make money, like multifaceted.
Nice. Neat.
Yes, I am also a sex worker.
Okay.
Um, and on there, I get to practice this boundary, or this way of me standing up for myself. One
Uh-huh.
of the things that I've been really coming clear about is how much I love to avoid confrontation, and I oftentimes want to please people. Um, so when I started the OnlyFans, and this is what I mean by like creating and letting that be your expression, and like allowing yourself to fully go there. Because
Mhm.
before this, like, so before, this is not my first time being a sex worker. When I lived in Chicago back in like 2009 to 2012,
Yes.
I was a sex worker that went out, and I met guys off of Craigslist. usually wealthy, and I would, make them take me for dates, and we'll have sex and they pay me. Now this is a little bit different, and again, a lot of that is about pleasing this person, right? I have to sort of present a certain way. I have to sort of act a certain way. I have to sort of want them to um, like me or want
Okay.
me
Uh-huh.
or to continue to keep paying for me is what I
Sure.
really should say.
Uh-huh.
Um, so with OnlyFans, it's different. It is me in control.
Uh-huh.
I get to say.
Okay.
So I've found that people will join, see what I have, and then begin to make like slander comments on it. Like the internet is everywhere. I mean, I posted,
I
huh?
should have obviously known this, but I didn't know people went on OnlyFans and also did mean comments. I thought that was like, subscribers and fans.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about it is they paid to be there, so I don't really give a shit about what you've already paid.
Yeah.
Um, but it happens everywhere. It's the internet. Like anything that gets put
Oh,
onto the internet, trust that somebody somewhere lurking is going to say. I posted a video about looking for other Black queer yoga instructors in Chicago or on the internet, period,
very
and
specific.
like asking what their experience was because I had questions because my experience was a little wonky. Um, and somebody on that post who didn't even have to pay attention to it put I people like you should die or should jump off a like building, and then proceeded to come into the DMs and berate me and say that I should no longer exist. So I had already had the death threats and all of that. So I'm like, I don't really care. So when they come on OnlyFans, I'm really like straight up with them. I'm like, look, this is the content that I create. This is my expression. You saw what was out there on the internet. You paid the paywall, and you're here. Ride the month out full. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. But before, the people pleaser in me would just be like, well, I can try to do this and I can try to. I'm not gonna. No, I created the content that I created. That's what you get. If you don't like it, don't pay for it next month.
Okay.
So I've let that carry over into all of my other social media endeavors. So when I
Yes.
post on TikTok, so when I post on Instagram, like I can now care because I've met the gritty. I don't, like
Mm-hmm.
who cares what your opinion is? I know people are going to have a bad opinion about it. I know it. I actually expect people to sit around and talk about me. So that's what I want.
You're giving them more. You're giving them more.
Yeah, and then the more I do it, because at first, man, seeing yourself on the internet or on video doing anything is
Anything.
is a rough experience.
Yeah, for
I had
sure.
to get used to my voice. I had to get used to I was like, oh my god, I have such a gay voice. It's such da, 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 da. So now, I've been doing it consistently for a year. I took
Okay.
a little time off, but
Uh-huh.
now I'm back, bitches. Because you need some breaks. But I've been consistently working at it. I've been doing my podcast for a year. I've been doing OnlyFans consistently for a year. I had started it in 2020, but was so afraid that somebody was going to find out that I was doing it. And then I was like, at this point, I don't care. If you're not paying a fucking bill, I don't care what you have to say because
Yeah.
this shit pays the bills.
Yeah.
Uh,
That
so I,
that's so almost like 90s or something. This idea, like I would just think about regular, I mean, porn or something, and somebody finding out like, oh, that person does porn, and it being like faux pas or being
yeah,
out of the wild, and nowadays so much of that stuff is front and center, and
it's
especially
integrated. Yeah.
fans, like it's like dinner table language. Like people talk about it. Not to say
Yeah.
that's what you want to talk about at your dinner, but it wouldn't be
Well,
out of
you
the norm.
could. You
Yeah,
could. I think there's
it
some
wouldn't be
really
out of the norm
interesting
for
OnlyFans
something
out there.
something like that, and it, it's a wild world.
Yeah.
A lot of
You
ways to
know?
express yourself.
Yeah. So, but it does take some getting used to. And that's why I say I've been so liberated through expressing myself, like whether it be on OnlyFans or Instagram or TikTok,
Mhm.
and just not caring anymore and just saying like, this is what I love to do. Like I love to have create like this. It's like I love to have conversations that probably make most people uncomfortable.
Is
I
your
love to, huh?
fan base, do you find a lot of crossover, on the different platforms where you serve?
Yeah, I do. I also find it very I find it very interesting who comes to me by way of the ways that they come to me. Like
Sure.
not only on OnlyFans, but even on like TikTok, like people that I think would not follow me. I'm like, okay, this is why we don't judge books by their covers because I did not think this little suburban white woman would sit here and like my video where I talk about my yoga experience
Okay.
and how it's been and like and comment and interact with it,
Sure.
or the same thing like on OnlyFans, like um I I thought I had very queer content, but I have a lot of straight women on my who have like found me off of like Instagram. Because
Yeah.
back a year ago, I had my link page had only my OnlyFans link on it. I have just recently taken it off. But yeah, like because it shows you which like on your analytics, like which direction they've
Yes.
come, like where they've come
Yeah.
from. And I'm like, that's that's interesting.
Yeah. We found analytics to be an interesting part of the socials and see
Yeah.
where people are coming from and how they're tuning in. And yeah, you do find a lot of surprises there.
Yeah. The analytics will tell on everybody. But for the most part, yeah, I am always interested in letting people interact with my work. I don't really care what their opinion could be about it.
Hmm.
I want you to engage with it in a positive way that somehow sort of pivots you forward versus keeping you in some sort of weird creeper negative space. That is the only reason that I've created. I think one we had discussed, um, like I don't want to be one of these talking heads who are telling everybody like you gotta wake up at 6 a.m. and you gotta do this and you gotta, I don't want to be that. So I said, well, how else do I express like this thing that I found as freedom? And I just do it, just show up, just
Hmm.
talk about the things you want to talk about, be who you want to be, and let people see the liberation. One of the sound samples that I use is from Genesis P. I don't know if you know who that is, but he was like this cool avant garde. He did these talking tapes with William S. Burroughs back in the late 50s or 60s.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe I shouldn't say that, probably 60s, 70s.
Sometimes.
But he has this sound sample where he talks about I want people to witness me and feel free through
Yeah.
my expression.
Yeah.
And that is like the bottom line for me. Like that is where I'm like, okay, that's where I start off. Like if people can experience what I feel just by me being present, just by me talking about my experience, because that's really what I think real life is about. I think we get so caught up in not wanting to hear the things that we think that we shouldn't hear. Um, and it's like, well, then how do you grow?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Definitely. We're before this, we were talking a little bit about, freedom. And so I want you to touch on that a little more. And also like maybe the isolation before, finding and liberating yourself in that true freedom and a little bit about you showing up, both for yourself and, in the world on the way to getting to a place now where you are, carefree and can express in so many different ways and um, have an openness to just being and allowing your being to kind of be that handshake introduction, you know.
Yeah, my presence.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'm gonna go all yogi on you. There's a reason why the rishis cut themselves off and put themselves in cages, or not cages, in caves. Sorry, well, sort of cage. But they put themselves in these caves. They go find a cave and they go and they isolate themselves for years, and then they come back and they join society. And when they join society, there is this profound difference to them, because they have taken the time to sit with themselves
Hmm.
and understand themselves, understand their reactions, understand their reasonings, um, allowing them to transcend to a different level of life. Because now they understand that everything, if it is, if we go quantum physics on this,
Yes.
um, everything doesn't exist until I encounter it or I experience it or I create it,
Yeah.
right? So if I know that, then I could probably predict the outcome of most situations.
Hmm.
So there is this difference of saying, okay, well, now what do I do with this? Of knowing this. When I experience it, it exists. So I have to make it exist. So they come back to society. Same thing with me.
Hmm.
I have taken the time to sit with myself, to understand myself and understand why certain situations kept reoccurring, certain experiences kept tearing me apart.
Sure.
Um, and I had to take a lot of time. Honestly, I think it took me about 2 years to really understand it all. And I cried a lot in this last year. I cried a lot in the year before. Which is funny because when the pandemic happened, I was happy, but I was also, on a different cloud. I was still trying to operate out of, I had to transition from working
Hmm.
into being a freelancer and making the work happen for myself.
Hmm.
And I think that there was a time in that I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know what I'm doing. And I let that time period happen for a little while, and then finally I got to a point where it's like, wait a minute, but I'm not doing anything that I really desire. So I was like, 2020 hit, the pandemic hit. I was like, I quit my job. I'm not, and I said to myself, I'm never going back to another 9 to 5, because the 9 to 5 catches me and it wraps me up in itself, and I can't do anything else. I've been trying to be a freelance artist for XYZ, and it ain't happening.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. So I went through that first phase of trying to make my freelance life like work,
Yeah.
waking up really early, working out, doing the journaling, and trying to create after that. What they don't tell you about all that shit is you are tired after waking up, working out, and journaling, because you have spent so much time expressing your brain and thinking and trying to be. The real tea about this is when I got to the point where I was like, all right, I need to figure this out for myself. I said, I'm not going by any of those instructions anymore. Anything that society has told me was right, I'm not doing. I take naps whenever the fuck I want to take a nap. I eat when I want to eat. I work out when I want to work out. I create when I feel the energy to create.
Yeah.
But I had to isolate for a minute for me to get that. Like I had to debunk why my parents weren't coming to my choir concerts. I had to debunk why my friends treated me the way that they treated me. I had to figure out why I couldn't show up for myself. And then knowing that, I was like, okay, so what are we going to do about it now? So now I formulate things that work best for me. Like I said, like neurodivergent brains are different. We can't go by this like limited access like entryway. We need the doors to be wide open and we can run free and maybe go across the street or back.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, and I just thought it was it meant that I was really, really hyper. And little did I know, it meant just my brain was really, really hyper.
Mhm.
And I was like, what? So nobody's having these million and one thoughts at a time. Like, I can think right now a million thoughts and still be talking to you at the same time.
Yes.
And nobody told me that I wouldn't be able to be a self-starter because my brain is going to try to analyze and compartmentalize what needs to happen first longer than it will take me to start the
To
action.
actually do the
Yeah. So now
yeah.
I have to say 1, 2, 3, go.
Yep.
And just do it. Don't think about it. I had to shut all of the things off. And I know people probably think I'm dead somewhere, but I had to close all of the noise out. I had to cry a lot. I had to express myself a lot. I talk to my roommate all the time and be like, I feel this way and and I need support. And if you're gonna be my friend and if you're gonna be my roommate, you need to support me. Like, I had to work through all of that so that I could be out here happy again and be
I
out
hear
here.
that a lot. You said being dead, and one of the things I've always heard is like the acronym DIE, like do it every day, die, die inside each day, and
Yeah.
really are going through all these little deaths,
Yeah.
all these deaths of your former selves, all these deaths of you know,
The grief
of stuff that you
of
thought.
failed relationships of I watched Guardian of the Galaxy and
Mhm.
cried through the whole thing. And when I tell people this, they're just like, Guardian of the Galaxy? I was like, I have daddy issues. And I didn't even realize how bad they were and how much one of the things that was really preventing me from creating is, and I had to keep asking myself, okay, again, why don't you want to show up for yourself? You want to be a creative, but you don't want to do it. You don't
Mhm.
want to be in front of the camera. You don't want to do this. You don't. And I had to say, where does that come from? I was a choir kid and a theater kid, and my dad probably came to like 4 things in my whole middle school to high school and beyond
Mhm.
life that I've done. Anything that was creative, he
Yeah.
wasn't going to be the first person there. My brother, the same way.
Okay.
And I had this moment where I was like, what makes that affect you? And I realized my brother played football. We showed up for every fucking game.
Yeah.
And I was like, somehow I'm seeking validation
Yeah.
about my creative side. And I realized that they weren't going to ever do that. So I
Mhm.
had to start doing it for myself. So
Yes.
posting actually helped me. And creating OnlyFans actually helped me because I was like, wow, people want to see the shit that I create.
Mhm.
Like, go figure that.
Yeah.
And the more people, like I had one video go like 3,000 people in like a 10-minute time frame. And I was like, people actually dig what the fuck I do. Like, I'm just over here just messing around, putting on weird fucking clothes, smoking weed, and being who I am. And I'm like, this didn't happen before.
Gosh.
Or if it did, I wasn't even able to notice it because I said that isn't a part of me that is prideful.
Mhm.
Because I had so much shame built around being like, well, my dad and my brother didn't like it.
Mhm.
And my mom, she wasn't too big on it, but she would occasionally show up. So in my brain, I had formulated this idea that like it wasn't real. Like, you're not an artist. The people who love you don't even like this.
You gotta go outside of your own village. You gotta leave your own village to
Yeah.
get the people to appreciate. And
Yeah. That's why I say the ability to express, to like show who you are. And people say, I like that.
yeah.
That's some profound, like, next level freedom. Like, you want to free yourself from all the insecurities, put on something or do something that you won't do. Like, and what's funny is all the kids on TikTok keep saying, you think I'm cringe, but that's what it takes to do this. And it's the fucking truth.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the fucking truth. Me just doing it is cringy anywhere. So I will operate from that and never do it. So I
Once
had to just be like, so what, your belly rose is showing while you sucking dick on OnlyFans. So
But it,
what? Somebody likes it because there's about 45 likes on that video. Or like, or me talking, man. When I first started my podcast, I had to, because me, we're do it ourselfers, right? I got to do the video, I got to do the editing, sitting and listening to myself talk. I just was like, what the fuck, dude? You don't sound like you know what you're talking about. You seem crazy. What is that sound effect that you just did? And I had to be like, but Jarvis, that's who you are. Like, people like you in real life. People have always liked you in real life. So what does it matter? Like, so then I had to really do that. I had to, again, this last year, unpacking, why don't you like yourself? Like,
mm,
people have loved you
yeah.
for who you are. Nobody has been like, oh God, Jarvis, your voice. I mean, somebody has, but we were drunk and it was late at night. But it's like I had to sit alone with myself to be like, what the fuck? And my roommate pet sits, so sometimes he's gone for the month. And there was so much me in this room here you see right here
Yep.
is where the magic happened. Just me late night playing with music, me late night writing stuff down. If you should see the amount of journals of just ideas, like somebody, if they came in here and went through my stuff, they were like, is he schizophrenic? Is he crazy? Like, what are all of these little writings and little spaces? I like, if I see something or think something, I'm writing it down, because everything I realize, like, if life is but a dream, I might as well create it. Like, I might as
Mhm.
well make my dreams a reality. So that means clothes that I want to wear, things that I want to do. Like, I've been wanting to have pink hair for a minute now. I had to go through 8 shades to get here, but I'm here now. Like, it's just simple things that I'm just like, projects that I want to work on. I want to get myself seen, because for so long I have not been. I can't tell you how many people, because I've been more active on social media, how many people who are like, man, you are being slept on. Like, your content, you're coming with good quality content. You're talking a good conversation. But that's the other thing. I'm like, I also realize that all of this shit is just time. That I
Yeah,
can't expect that I posted one thing and now I'm gonna be, the hit of the town. It
sure.
takes time to build a portfolio, or it takes time to build who you are, to show people cohesively, this is who I am. I think that's the other thing, is like, so many people skyrocket to the top, but we don't know who they are. And then when we start seeing who they really are, it's like, oh no, they're also a racist, or they're also a
Yeah, we've seen it a
misogynist,
lot, and
or
that often ends up being more of a drag than a gift,
yeah,
because they do get out there, before people have had a chance to attune to their whole being, you know,
yeah,
and and then you just look at them as that one thing.
yeah.
Definitely. Uh, I mean, y- you definitely live colorfully, and you live loud, and even here and now in this conversation, I feel like you've already shocked and surprised me with things, which is wonderful, and it harkens back to another time. I remember, after George Floyd was murdered, and I remember calling you and you know being like, can I get my black friend's take on this? Like in this kind of moment, right? And so now, like a whole new level of, you know, it just it is so important for everyone in their little spaces to collectively go out and just live and express in their own being, but also to come back and to have the conversations that connect and be able to
Yeah,
hear the different takes. Because like you said, potentially with the lady that saw you and maybe went the other way or something, rather than turning away, if you leaned into that and was like, you're different. Let's talk. That's where you
yeah,
really get to walk away and just be like, wow, something new came, or it sparked a new idea, or I sparked something that maybe I would have never thought I was capable of, or
yeah.
all kinds of things. I just
I
I
think
feel
that's also one thing that I've sort of learned through sex work. not to harp on that, but
Yeah.
to allow yourself to experience different things. When I first started, like, and I talked about this on my on the episode of sexuality on my podcast. Um, I was like, I was in the in the mindset when I got out of my first relationship that like there were gender roles, there were things that we needed to do and act a certain way in our relationships. And when it came to sex work, I had to lose all of that because
Hmm.
it doesn't actually apply to the idea of like what I'm doing like aligns with society. So like doing BDSM or, just being a sex worker period, you sort of had to allow yourself. I know what I don't like, I know what I like. But you know what? I also realize I've always been one of those person who won't knock it until he tries it. Like I've definitely slept with women. I primarily sleep with men now, but I didn't knock it before I tried it, like, and I often think sometimes like how do you make um like to my other to my other gay friends is like, you've never had like vagina sex? Like that seems crazy, but like but what we're taught is you're the man, you're the woman. Even when you talk about gay relationship, they're like, who's the man, who's the woman? Or, like,
Sure.
because we're trying to figure out these things. But when you approach conversations, like there's so many of my straight friends that have engaged me in conversations that I think now has this different perspective on their own relationships and how they treat their women, and saying like, wow, like I do need to respect you at all times and in all spaces, like,
Hmm.
but it took having the conversation in order to change that, right? Like, so
Yeah.
that's like for me on social media, I create conversations, like it's me just talking and I'm
Hmm.
having this conversation with the camera, like,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out even myself. I think that's the other thing is we have to put down the notion that we are perfect and be willing to be like, no, maybe like let me listen. Let me shut up and listen.
Hmm.
Like with this woman, it's like she missed out on a great class. And what's crazy to me is most people, and this is how I know that I've changed. I probably back in the day would have been a little more aggressive to her, but I
Hmm.
recognize I'm like, she is human and
Hmm.
she has the ability to make her own choices as a human. That has nothing to do with me. And all of the people after that class was like, I don't know how you just got through that. And I was like, it's real. Like I understand what real life is.
Yeah.
We are pretending so much.
Yeah.
And the conversation, like I said, it's okay to confront things. That's why my podcast is called Unavoidable Shit, because when you understand the unavoidable shit, you
Yeah.
understand the whole situation.
Big time. It made me think of the older guys in the next class that you described, because I'm thinking of, the older radically accepting guys that, come back in, and, you could just talk about everything because, there is something
They
about
don't care.
listening and participating and being in every conversation where there really is a freedom, like you said, going through your own isolated time or whatever it may be. So much comes from that, the freedom of, just self knowledge, where you don't have to agree with somebody, you don't have to do the
Yeah.
same thing to somebody, but you can stay in the same room and get the nuggets,
Yeah.
it really
And listen,
just.
I think when you listen to people's stories, one day it clicks because you listened.
Hmm.
I think the same thing about me. Like when I replay scenarios in my head and I replay conversation, I'm like an elephant. I don't ever forget anything. I when I replay the conversations, I begin to like recall things. Like with me and my family, there's this riptide that has happened, and I started to remember the things that were happening to me as a kid. I was sort of like, you know, abused by my brother mentally and physically.
Hmm.
And when I really started being clear, I realized a part of me was just trying to block it out so I didn't have to recognize it as the truth.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to engage in the conversation because people had asked me about it before, and I was just like, gave a spotty answer. I realized I did the same thing about so I was burned, like on half of my face and half of my body. I did the same thing. I avoided that conversation so much because I didn't want to have to, one, relive the emotion, the shock, the trauma, because
Sure.
it's in me. And it's funny. A friend of mine just came to visit not too long ago, and I was talking to her about it and like the aftermath of it, and like how my parents just tried to cover it up. It was this rip between my parents. My dad comes home and he says, "What have you done to my child, to my mom?" And my mom's like, "What? You've been gone. I'm the only person." And like, there were so many things that happened that I just kept trying to move forward past. So I'm telling this story and I just burst out into tears. I'm just like, I couldn't even control it. And I was like, it is literally 30 something years later, and I'm still affected by these things. So I can't imagine what it's like to just keep avoiding and avoiding and avoiding and avoiding. And then when it happens, or when you're confronted with it, like homosexuality, when you've avoided all the gays all your life, and now your kid is gay, now you can't face it. You can't face your child because you've just avoided
Oh,
getting the knowledge. You've
yeah.
just avoided getting to understand the experience and understanding that maybe it isn't what you've been told.
Uh-huh.
That's one. When we talk about boundaries, that's one of the things that I have to keep as a boundary, is like, if you're not willing to get uncomfortable with me, then I can't bring you in close,
Those
because you are dangerous.
those familiar relationships, are you able to now get uncomfortable and be close, or is that still an area, you know, that's touchy maybe
It's
to say?
comfortable for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Because even,
Okay.
I just had a conversation with my mom about that sort of abuse situation, and I can tell she was uncomfortable about it, and she
Yeah.
defaulted and said she didn't remember these circumstances at which I was talking about.
Yeah.
And at first I was gonna be so hurt about it, and then I realized, like, no, she's just trying to survive the fucking matrix.
Yeah, that's her level. Like, people can only
She,
meet as deep as they're willing to meet themselves.
yeah, she's just trying to say, I can't admit that I didn't do my job as a parent in that moment. And it was just that moment. She did a great job everywhere else, but it was
Yeah.
just that moment where it was like, I needed you. I needed that safe. And that's why I say it's unsafe, because if the people aren't willing to get uncomfortable with you, then it's unsafe, because they're going to do whatever it takes. And that might mean gaslighting you. That might be spiritual bypassing you, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that is unsafe. Like, that's
Yeah.
why I say, it's like, there's so much freedom in just saying whatever the fuck you feel,
Yeah.
and just saying, like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And if they don't agree, say, I understand that you don't agree and I can't participate in this anymore. I'm going to go my way.
Mhm.
Like, because that's what real adults should be doing in today's age. I know we're not taught to do that, but on some level, the profound intimacy that comes with telling the truth is fucking crazy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we're all like, we want intimacy with the. You don't know what intimacy is.
Yeah. Yeah. Earlier, even you were talking about the idea of, you know, whether it be somebody saying, doing whatever, something, and staying silent in those spaces, and you finding it necessary. And I felt myself, even on listening to you share a pretty good story, where I felt tinges, and I feel like, so bypassed in so many of these levels, where I'm just like, yes, I'm good in that. But I heard you saying some things where, uh, it was also just a reminder of really how important it is, and also how important it is once you are in that space where you are free to talk about everything, and you are comfortable, expressing on anything, or holding up the boundaries, the real accountability part of that. Because
Yeah.
the
That's
time.
where the safe space is. When
Yeah.
you say, I know what your boundary is, you're basically saying, I love you to a person. I love you to know you, not Brandon, who everybody knows out on the street, the
Mhm.
intimate version of you. I know where to stop, where to go, where to push.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
And,
know,
and
it.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Oh no,
you just, you are in such a important place because um, you really get to a point where anyone that can't meet you in those places almost becomes invalid in a
yeah.
great way, because it's like if you can't have the conversation, what's the point? If you
Yeah,
can't have the
they
conversation,
don't
what's
possess the
the point?
capacity, so why even do it? It's like trying to shove, a square into a circle.
Mhm.
Like they don't have the capacity to do it. They're a circle.
Yeah.
Like and but the freedom that comes with that level of truth. Like me and my roommate, I just told him the other day, I was like, out of all the people that I've met, you have become weirdly the one that I feel most intimate with
Mhm.
because we have real conversations.
Mhm.
They're tough, but they're real.
They're real.
And if
Yeah.
we're trying to be there for each other, then we have to be honest with each other. I mean, more intimate than any relationship that I've ever been in, because every relationship I've ever been in, I couldn't be like, you're being trifling or I'm being trifling or blah, 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 because of what everybody else might think or what that person might think. Like, I'm liberated on a level that I'm just like, I don't have to be concerned about that because I know I had the tools to say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this and it's nothing against you.
Yes.
This is just my boundary, like I just can't go any further. Sorry. And you get to a point where you can feel it. Like you said earlier, it's like that feeling. That's how I know it's a level of intimacy. So what was happening was an intimate moment. I'm in Chicago, you're in wherever you're
Yeah.
at. and I just move the energy back and forth by just having the conversation with you. And
Absolutely.
you physically felt something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Big.
Like I,
I
I I stress freedom, that kind of freedom.
Yeah. For myself, gosh, and that is so important because we are 100% spiritual beings first, like
Yeah.
before meat suit and all of this. And, our energy introduces us before we go places. We do, we're our little toroidal flow of energy, our
Hmm.
electromagnetic fields are interacting and stuff. And that alone is a hard barrier to cross, as far as when you're in touch and in tune with your feeling like that. um, and you use the word matrix, but like when you're able to be there and you're, because a lot of places, and this goes back to that isolation, like you really got to isolate enough to figure out your own day, your own week, your own month, your schedule, what makes you feel good, what places make you feel good, to show up, because then you do attract and align with other people that are, right
Yes.
for you and fit your puzzle, like that. But especially with like familial relations, and
Those are the hard ones, man.
those are the hard ones because there's some kind of tie that is always there, and you have, it's expectations and that kind of stuff of
Yeah, that was the hardest part of this year was letting go of that. And I mean, and you know what else? It's like, okay, your body will tell you everything.
yes.
The more I started unpacking with my family, I started dreaming about it. I have these like clips on my phone of me waking up because I just needed to get it out and re-talking out my dream and saying it so that I could go back and be like, my body is telling me that these people aren't safe and to stop trying to live by them
Yeah.
because they are living their own lives. Let go. Stop
Yeah.
worrying about them.
Yeah,
Stop
for
worrying
sure.
about their opinion. Do you sell sex on the internet? Do what you need to do. Become a millionaire. You don't have to do all of these things that they want you to do because it doesn't even make sense. It is not 1960.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Completely agree.
those were the hardest ones. I cried mostly because I had to mourn the loss of my family. I had to understand that like these motherfuckers have never seen me. I am a completely different person. Who I am, who you're witnessing now,
Hmm.
would never actually be fully realized in front of them. So I've even started to avoid trying to interact with them in person, because it alters. I become a child again. I don't know how to even. I don't even know how to stop it. I just have to keep my distance. And the same thing with people that we have relationships with. If you realize that every time you just are weak in the knees and can't pull yourself up out of what they're pulling you into, you
Yes.
can't be around them.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, but necessary, and also just like you taking the Tylenol to get you rid of the headache, it will get you rid of the aches afterwards. I was talking with a coach the other day who brought up a great feeling that he expressed in a good way that I'll share with you because it's like the other side of that was talking about a relationship with his own brother and how like for years they just mashed heads, right? And I think he was the younger brother and he recognized it like, hey,
Same.
I'm the Weasley little brother to you, right?
Yeah.
But at a certain point he grew and he kept evolving and his own evolution brought him to a point where now they're just amazing. And and it he let go of the expectations of his brother changing, right?
Yeah.
And he just accepted more and more levels of himself, and as that happened the relationship started to flourish and like the
Yeah.
energy, there was no blockages anymore. And
Yeah, I've been wondering that about my brother, because I realized, like, I still talk to my mom over the phone. I teach yoga to her and her friends.
mhm,
Um, but I try to keep conversations. I still, actually, I'm quite there for her through the phone.
mhm,
I just don't know if I could do that physically.
yeah,
But I listen to all the things that are going on in her life. I'm still a child, but I just know where to stop and start. But I just recently thought the same thing about, like, one day me and my brother are going to get to a point where we just have to actually talk,
mhm,
because I was talking with my mom, and I listened to this story that I realized, like, wow, my mom created a really unsafe space, and I couldn't even tell her. And I recognize people who capacity to who's in front of you,
yes,
because it'll save you the energy. But I recognized, I was like, man, she put my brother in an unsafe space, and he grew up to live out the same thing that his father did, which was be, abusive on whatever level. um
mhm,
and 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 I could see the moment that it happened. She told me the moment that it happened, that I was like, wow, that was, and all I could think was, like, that was highly unsafe to do.
mhm,
um and I couldn't even bring it to her attention. I did bring some other things. I actually started crying because she made another statement, and it was so triggering the way she said it, and she sounded exactly like my brother, that
uh-huh,
I started crying. And I realized, and she was just like, "Oh," and she was talking about my niece, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I know that's, like, messed up for her." And I was just, like, thinking in my head, like, she doesn't get it. She still does not get that I was abused and in this relationship with this person that wasn't safe.
uh-huh,
Um, and then she did the same thing for him in telling me this story. And I was just like, oh, like, she doesn't possess the capacity. So I then begin to unravel my brother and be like, I do need to keep space for him, because he still is narcissistic and manipulating.
okay,
Um, but one day I have to have this conversation of, like, what was your experience? Like, because now I have so much compassion for the fact that, like, okay, so the same shit happened to you that happened to me. You were put in an unsafe position. I was put in an unsafe position. Like, let's talk about this, because that's the evolution of it. I'm no longer mad at this person. I just know who he is more clearly now by his actions and his
you're in
doings.
you're in Chicago and it's all these same wrongs help me write my songs, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I man, trauma is a funny thing because
Yeah.
it's weird how the harshest things also enable you to be the softest. Uh, I mean, you got to go through a lot to get to soft. Yeah, I
Yep.
feel like I see a meme go around the internet all the time. Like you don't know the pain I went through to be this gentle type of thing, and that
Yeah.
was
This
so
gentle
accurate.
beast.
And on both eh, taking traumas and even dishing traumas, and
Yeah.
in having that conversation with some people, especially when you're in a conversation with somebody that's not in that capacity yet, to really absorb that and take that and be able to make it fluid and work with it. Because like I was having a conversation with somebody like that too, where they didn't want to acknowledge and I said something as simple as like hurt people, and heal people, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah, and it's like,
I've been telling people that.
yeah, and they did not want to hear that,
Acknowledge it.
acknowledge it, right? Like
Capacity while reached.
yes. And it's like, and I know the thing you're going through is like rough and heavy, and you just want to like turn and be like, not facing this, not facing
Yeah.
this. But
No, rip the Band-Aid off. That's
yeah,
where I'm at. I'm like, rip the Band-Aid off. Like,
cracks. That's where the light comes in. You gotta rip it. You gotta
it's the
rip.
difference between greatness and avoiding disappointment. Because when we opt to avoid disappointment, it's because we don't want to know what that person really thinks of us. We don't want to hurt that person. We don't. But the thing is the longevity is the trauma.
Whoa.
Because the more you do this, the more it creates a deeper and deeper wound. Because once it erupts, because it's going to erupt, it's like a pimple.
Mm-hmm.
Pimples form 8 weeks in advance. You don't see that bitch for 8 weeks, and then out of nowhere, here it is. That's how trauma works. Like, you go and you treat somebody fucked up for years.
Mm-hmm.
The next relationship is hard for them. The relationship after that is hard for them. And
Yeah.
each one gets harder and harder if they're not willing to address what had happened to them.
Yeah.
If they're not, because that's what we do as people pleasers. We're like, you know what, that's fine. I'll go on, I'll do my thing. And it's like, just like you said, no, I said what I said and I'm leaving. Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not the correct behavior that we should like go to or default to as adults. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's actually it's what makes me question all of humanity and society right now. Though I love life, I also recognize that society as a whole has so much work to do that I can't even be focused on that. Like, the idea of racism, I talk about racism all the time because I recognize that it makes people uncomfortable and I think it should be something that's talked about. But I also realize that it's not going to go away anytime soon. And the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that I can do is continue to be me and be that fully. And that means talking about my experience. You can say racism doesn't exist, but I have this experience. And if you can convince me with hardcore proof that that didn't exist, then fine. But most of the shit is just, it's surface level like that. It's like, okay, I recognize that. I'm not going to sit here and try to convert everybody into believing that racism exists. If they don't believe, again, capacity while reached.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm going to go on about my business. Like, we're just human.
Yeah.
It's a part of the experience. I think that is what is also a freeing thought to me too, is that once I recognize that everybody has the ability to be nice and fucked up.
Yes, totally.
And in recognizing that, once I realize that they're fucked up, the real question again, what did I say before? What is the next thing to do?
Yeah, not
why.
You know your why, but
You
what?
know your why already, because they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's time to move on. Like when you say you reached a wall with this person saying that and that they couldn't receive it, it's like, okay, so what's next?
I go back to this. I think because it's something I can hold on to that's like kind of tangible, but in my gratitude practice, right? I got to this place where I was, I needed to be more grateful in my life, right? So I started intentionally practicing gratitude and did that for some time. Who knows how long, a year or whatever, where I was like, that was a focus for a while. And it leaps and bounds, for my personal life and this kind of, and then I got to a place where I was like, oh, is that the end of gratitude? Like I reached a plateau. I was like, it's not going to do anything more. Like, I can't, I can't like share this with others. Like, and I would tell people like, hey, you got to be grateful. The more grateful you are, like the better your life's going to be, right? And
people are like, fuck off.
If people are like, hey, you stop, get off your high horse, right? But then I was stuck there for a while because I was like, man, they need to know what I'm feeling. They need to know what this feels like. So then I got to another capacity where I was like, whoa, if I expand myself and just almost like you're talking about holding space, or holding space is a great example of that. But you can gift your gratitude even more by showing up more and really
People see it on you.
yeah, they
It's
see
what
it
people
on.
get jealous of. Like
Yeah, they
like
all,
people
man.
can see it on you. Like I know that from just walking down. I could walk down the street and tell you that everybody's like, I fucking hate him because he is fucking living his fucking best life, and I'm going to this job that I don't want to go to, and I'm doing this person that I don't want to be with, and I'm over there skipping down the street with a joint,
Yeah.
like I'm living, like I also I have removed the option of relationships in my life
Uh-huh.
because I realize that that is a large focus that takes up a lot of our time. And I'm just working on being the best version of me. And I can trust and believe that if I am in the best version of me, that when this person comes along, that we are going to evolve in a way that makes both people evolve as two individual beings and not this sort of unity thing, because I don't know if I believe that relationships are this united thing that needs to happen, that we need to be. No, there needs to, people can change, and you don't want to make people afraid of changing in a relationship, because then that's when they cheat on you. That's when they, live alternate lives and don't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend who was in a relationship for 7 years, and at 5 out of the 7 years, he was in another relationship with another woman who lived right down the street from her. I don't want that. I
Yeah,
don't want you to be so afraid of being able to, like, I want you to love me enough to hurt me.
I couldn't agree more. I just couldn't agree more. Like
Like,
yeah,
let me know.
yeah. Let me know.
You don't want to do this no more? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to accept that in my own time.
yeah,
I didn't do anything wrong. Cool. That's the hard part, because now you got to convince yourself you really didn't do anything wrong. But people grow apart. Like,
and
I
that's
met
what.
a beautiful couple that, like, well, they're not a couple anymore. They were a couple, but they are now best friends.
Uh-huh.
But they were like, we just got to a point where we felt like we were both trapped in this relationship. Again, we talk about freedom, because what you know why the cage bird sings? Because the bird doesn't know that the cage is his life. The bird doesn't know that the cage is his relationship. The bird doesn't know that the door is open the whole time, but you keep staying in this relationship, or you keep staying in this life pattern that you don't like, or this whatever. It's you. Like, you have to recognize, like, all right, do I want to stay here? And that's what they did. They were just like, you know what? Um, I want to be this person. She's like a lesbian, and I think he's gay. So look, it was supposed to be, but I mean, in their relationship, they tried to have the open relationship. But it just, they got to a point where they realized, and I thought it was so beautiful, because I was like, that's real. That y'all are still friends, because y'all realize, like, shit, we were really just friends who just got married. And had this really big epiphany about their situation, and said, like, all right, like, so we're not going to do this anymore, and was fine and worked through it. I mean, I know that it doesn't happen that way all the time, but I think that that's what a relationship looks like when you're completely transparent through the whole thing. You know,
I think
they
that.
said their relationship was great. They really had no reason besides, they just didn't want to be with, who they wanted to be with anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
liberate. Like, that's freedom.
for me, uh, that's getting to that personal accountability part too, and acknowledging where you gave away power, acknowledging the places where you know you didn't stand in your truth enough to share to somebody else and say, like, hey, you're beyond hurting me, or
Yeah.
uh, and that's everywhere. That's people staying in jobs that are terrible. That's
Ooh,
people.
that's the worst one, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like jobs, relationship, or relationships, jobs.
Yeah.
Because my longest relationship ever in my whole life was working for that place down in San Antonio.
Mhm.
I don't want to say their name because I know that they will sue me. Um, but that was my longest, toughest, worst relationship. Like, and I hate to say that, but like, it was a relationship. We went back and forth. I remember when I left to go to Chicago the first time, I was like, I'm never going back to that job. And then I went back because you know why? Because trauma returns to trauma, right? It'll find that trauma somehow. Like,
Sure,
oh,
yeah.
I got to get this dose again, you know. So I went right back to it as soon as I got back to Texas,
You know
and
what?
it was rough. Like it diminished my worth so much that I think that year that we met was the builder. That's why I say like people like you are the catalyst to who I am right now. You know, like if you had not shown up and nobody else had not shown up, because I think maybe didn't just you show up or like maybe one other person showed up.
Yeah,
Uh,
I I I want to say one, thank you for saying that because it obviously it feels nice and not even that I would know that I would could be that much of an influence or an impact on you, but also as a person, that's where I have to hold myself accountable in places because like we were talking about this a little earlier about when you have people around you sometimes that jump in on projects or jump in on things and it's almost like they're co-opting your space, right? But they're really like kind of co-opting your energy and
yeah,
if you're not being accountable to yourself and and that why also it's so cool full circle to come back to a moment like this and be creating and be having a good conversation about stuff because it is your energy that brings you to places or aligns you with certain people and the more you own your own energy, you know what I mean, the more when you have those connections, when you have those things, they just go off without hitch and they're beautiful and you can make transformational kind of things happen where everyone that's involved walks away like with beautiful energy,
yeah. That's a
and
true collaboration because the collaboration should be two separate entities joined into the one thing. You know,
yeah,
like we can be individuals and united at the same time. I think that's the whole what planet Earth is trying to do.
yeah,
But it's hard because like I said earlier, everything tells us to be just alike. You know, like I can't tell you how many people on TikTok or Instagram are like, just do this and the algorithm likes this. But basically what they're telling us is mimic, keep mimicking. Don't try to do something different.
hmm
Mimic. Or
hmm
you can try to put your spin on it, but it's still the same thing, you know? Like it's
yeah.
there's no place for the individual. And I think that's my energy. That's who Akacius Paige is he's the fucking individual.
Like the little robin that broke out of your egg,
Yeah, you know? So it's like I
all
see
that
it.
mimicry is that's also nature, because we've got to mimic, you know, to get flight, we've got to mimic the mama bird and the papa bird flying, right? And
Hmm.
with all the gurus online and all of that kind of stuff, like you, you know from the people that inspire you and the people that you tune into and how you can shuffle through people like this person's inspired me today and this one tomorrow and then you go through the stages of mimicking and trying out different things. And then you're like, oh, that doesn't work for me. Like, and that's why everyone has their own
Yeah.
school, their own program, their own academy, because, you got to go through enough academies before you're kind of like, okay, I should just be, I know what feels right. I'm going to teach that.
Yeah.
But the next person behind you is going to need your academy,
Yeah.
they just will. They just will as part of it.
Or, like I say, the next person behind me is going to see me and create the same thing for themselves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because I think that's the thing. It's like it's about that witnessing, right? You know, it's the one thing that I actually like about the church is like testimonials. Testimonials are made to sort of give you this eyewitness view. They're like, this happened in my life. It could happen in your life, but this
Totally.
happened in my life and it was life changing. And I'm here to tell you, to let you know that like if you just keep going, if you
Yeah.
just keep creating, if you just keep loving yourself for who you are, that on the other side of that is something paradise.
When you were a kid, did you have like pep rallies at your school, or like
Yes.
would people come and talk? Right.
Yeah, it was usually like somebody from the city, yeah.
Okay. Because
Like a
I love
city
that phase,
official.
because it was like a mix of, like, the totally straight, I just went career mode and I'm awesome because I'm a doctor, high achieving lawyer or something. And then the other ones, which were also valid and usually pretty memorable, were the ones that were like addicts and, had
Oh,
crazy
crazy.
lives. And they give you an example of like, don't do this, but also I lived through it and now it's my message to share, and
So you're saying do drugs.
I'm just saying be, and just
I'm
whatever
just-
you're being, you can get through, and you can grow through whatever
yeah.
you're
Yeah,
experiencing.
I always say life is like the place to fuck it up. Like just fuck up. Like you ain't gonna do nothing but learn. Like it's okay to fuck up. And it's okay to be like honest about fucking up. It's one of the things that I hate working in corporate, because people fuck up in corporate and they just start blaming somebody else about it, which is, the human
Yeah,
experience. But
yeah,
it's one of the things where I'm just like, just no, like if you own up to it, then we can solve the problem faster than just blaming 80 other people and then turns out it wasn't the 80 other people, it was you.
uh-huh,
Like
totally, totally.
just allow yourself to just like, it's okay to fuck up. That's what, trust me, I have fucked up. Trust me, I had that thing, that event that I had in San Antonio at the museum was a fuck up.
Mhm.
It wasn't so much a fuck up as I fucked up by, and you know what, I had to battle this a lot in that isolation phase that I was in,
Mhm.
because it was another thing that made me realize like I don't think that I was creative,
Mhm.
because I worked so hard for so long on that exhibit, and like like hardly anybody showed up for it.
Oh yeah.
Hardly anybody came by.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I had to, one of the things that I came clear with was, it is San Antonio. San
Uh-huh.
Antonio has, and I know these facts because I researched these for this exhibit. San Antonio has never had more than 10% Black people in it.
Uh-huh.
And I created something that was about race that San Antonio is not willing and ready to confront yet.
Oddly, one of
The
the first like integration places too, though.
Well, just because your history has it doesn't mean that something has altered the experience, because I think that San Antonio is whitewashed, but we won't say that because there's a whole bunch of Latin folks that live there, right? But
Hmm.
it is whitewashed in the sense that most of those people during the 1970s and the 1960s who are Mexican in that city were checked off as white on there. If they were of certain whatever, was checked off as white. So the standards of it evolved to a more racist time than when they originally integrated San Antonio. So I had to think about all of that and say to myself, so I basically created something that nobody was ready for. So I can't say, oh, it was a fail. No, the only fail is I didn't know who I was trying to target. I should have did something that was more relevant.
Uh-huh.
And then I would have got the outcome that I wanted to have. But the other thing is I don't need to focus on just if a whole bunch of people came. If 5 people came to that and learned something about San Antonio's integration, I have to be happy with that. I had
Sure.
to tell myself that. I was down about it because I was like, I feel like this was a fail, like a huge public fail.
Oh yeah.
Like the Current wouldn't put it in the paper. They ignored me, and they put every other event that I had in the paper except that one.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so I realized like the odds were against me, and but I then started to become proud of myself because like, well, how fucking brave of you to do something you knew that was going to like sort of flop, but did
Absolutely.
it anyways just because this is what you believe in, like I
Yeah.
wanted to show San Antonio at one point us as minorities were united in a way that we don't even understand in today's time, and how beautiful it is to unite on a different level than to sort of just keep like submitting to the supremacy.
You know, I think the artist is a minority, and
Yes.
successful artist is a minority, And I think about that quite often because, gosh, I could be the king of failing publicly, and you know, and yet for some reason I just keep getting up and going and going. But the strength that I draw in that is there's a real fairness to it. I really believe that. And I look at everyone, ahead of me or everyone that I deem as more visibly successful or having maybe accolades that I would one day like to have for myself. And I just have to remind myself, like, you know what? These people played before a crowd of one. These people
and a crowd of none too.
had a crowd of none. And these people spent their own money on all these things that just flopped, or
Woo!
people
Oh,
have
I got my heart.
yeah, the people have failed things so much bigger than I've failed, and it doesn't feel like that sometimes, right? Especially when you're failing in front of people, like, oh gosh.
Especially when you're failing alone, because that was also the tough part. Is like, so when I went into that isolation, I had to think about all the things that I had attempted to do and why it didn't work, and like, how did I feel about why it didn't work? And
Mhm.
then it was like, okay, so what do you want to do different? That's why I also think that what I have going on now is so clear that I'm just like, it feels like freedom, because I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know what kind of content I want to create. I know what kind of like what I want to say.
Yeah.
Before, it all just felt like I had to peel back the layers to be like, can I say these things? I didn't want to offend friends, and now I'm just like, look, y'all ain't paying no bills, and y'all definitely ain't supporting the way else is supposed to support. So I'm gonna go ahead and say what I want to say, because if I just keep not doing it out of the comfort for you,
You don't keep
we
yourself.
both stuck now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Like, we're both stuck. So yeah. It's like I have to tell. I was talking to another friend, and she's a teacher who's trying to sort of break out of again, the matrix. Um, and one of the things I said, I was like, you should try an OnlyFans. And she was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that because," and all of the same reasons that I had said, the
Sure.
reason why I didn't want to do it, she was saying the exact same thing. And I let her say it, and I listened to her, and I said, the other day I made $100 in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So you decide what you want to do.
Yeah, that's the other part of that. Whatever it is you're teaching, you really are sharing it with the person behind you, the person
Yeah.
that's facing those same fears, the person that's next, thinking the same limiting beliefs, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great one, limiting beliefs, because I'll be in conversation with somebody and they'll be arguing for their limiting beliefs. And I just don't tolerate that anymore. Like, I just,
Good.
like, come on, do not tell me
How
what
childish, right? Like,
do not tell me what
really?
I can't do. Like, you're so capable. You're so wildly capable. Don't waste a breath on telling me the thing you can't do. Like,
Yeah.
just zip it. Like,
Yeah.
stop it and just pause for a second, because within that, what you can't do is also what you can do. There's
Yeah.
100 things that you can do based off of that. So
Yeah,
I want
I also try to I like the notion that when they say the thing that they can't do, just saying something that counters that. Or maybe I can do this. Maybe that I
you
have
get
to
them to say it.
no, just saying it out loud, or just like, okay, I got an example. Me and my roommate are, we're trying to content create over here. I'm trying to do this transition video, and he's trying to do this like crazy camera flip thing.
Mhm.
Um and he was getting frustrated, and I was like, well, try this. And I get that, from my perspective, he's like, bitch, all you have to do is stand there and look pretty. I'm the one doing all the work. And he's like, well, it's this and it's this and it's this. I said, or maybe we just take a breather, and we think to ourselves, I'm learning, and that like this is the process of learning. Yeah, this is hard, but how do I figure out how to do this? Because the one thing I know, and I was talking about Wes Anderson. I was like, um, Wes Anderson didn't film like that the first time he filmed like that. Like,
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan, what's his name, Shyamalan. He
Wonderful.
didn't, he wasn't directing the way he directed. Like, photographers don't just start off with these magical images.
Yeah.
It's a lot of having to keep going that tells you. So if you just take off the block to say that I can't do it, or it's this and it's this and it's this, what did you think that it was just going to be like bloop 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 and we got it? I have to tell myself that a lot because sometimes I film things so many times. The other day, I had to record a monologue to go over a video, and I probably recorded that thing 80 times. And I didn't, every time I started to get frustrated, I was like, all right, I always just say, this is it. This is the take. This is the take. This is it. Come on. Cause I know. And I tell myself in my head, snap, bitch, snap. Like, get into it. It's almost kind of aggressive, but I rather me be aggressive with positivity than me be aggressive with negativity, because that gets dark.
So, especially as the artist, as the creative, you always have so much on the shelf or in the can that you've just made and fail to share with the world, because
Now I'm sharing it all. Share it all. Fuck it.
Yeah,
There is
absolutely.
some real fucked up, cringy shit out there. So
Yeah, you
trust
can't get
me.
it until you share it. You got to share it before you can adjust it. You
Yeah.
got to share it before you can make it better.
And trust me, people will tell you what you can fix on it.
Mhm.
There's definitely some times where I get like DMs from people who's like, I like your outfit, but I would have wore this. And it's like, cool. But what you missed in that was I inspired you to put an outfit together.
Yeah.
I am an influencer.
There you go. There you go.
That's what I tell people. They're like, you're not an influencer. You only have such and such followers. Like, people are influenced by the things that I do.
100%. Yeah.
If I'm getting death threats, they're influenced. Everything is, it is what it is. Again, how do we free ourselves from this? Brandon, how do you free yourself from all of the chaos that is life? What in this moment is what makes you feel free? What makes you feel like everything's okay, like it's safe? What is giving that to you? How do you manifest that every day?
Legitimately, I often like a podcast or like these moments where, because I still have all of the, you could say bills or responsibilities of life, right?
Oh,
And
I'm broke still.
yeah, and heavy stuff, right? And but I just think, in particular with content creation too, I just think like these are the things that I enjoy doing, and all those other things necessarily aren't the fun things. And even if they're gonna provide for me in some way, they're not fulfilling. And so I just keep getting up, and that's what I say about failing publicly. Like in San Antonio alone, man, I often I can look at out loud how many things I failed at, right?
Me too.
And oh, it's rough. But then I also think, man, there's so many people that have lived here their whole lives and like not even tried.
Never even attempted.
I failed here,
Yeah.
you know, and that's where I've been able to slowly give myself grace and slowly, validate myself and just be like, and it's all the cheesy stuff. It's all the cheesy
It's
stuff.
not cheesy. See, there we go with the words again. Look, the one thing that you can understand, and I say this as a person who is often triggered by words. I don't know if I'm like a semantics person,
Sure.
because I don't think that applies to every situation. But if you really listen sometimes to what people say, and if you really listen to what you say, you will hear the talk myself out of, the placing of the blame on the other thing, or you can hear just the way people are clearly speaking to you. I do this a lot with my roommate. His boss would text him something, and I'll tell him to read it to me, and I'll listen to each word and say what she's really saying is basically like, almost one time it was like, basically, if you do this, you won't have no job. But she had worded it in this way that anybody who isn't really clear on words or clear on communication will oftentimes be manipulated into doing whatever they want them to do. So even with you, when you say it, it's the small things. Like I said, when my mom said that to me, it triggered me to my core.
Sure.
So you have to be aware of like, it isn't goofy. It is who you are. It is what makes you you. What makes me want to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's what makes me want to hang out with you versus all the other crazies.
When I say cheesy, also like I'm able to, like I said, I'm in a place
laugh at yourself.
Laugh at myself because, and what I was gonna follow that with is like cheesy cliche, however you want to say it. It is the journey, because it's in the doing of things that you steel sharpens steel. You know, it's
Yeah.
in the doing of things that you're figuring out a, what you like and what you don't like, b, what works and what's not working, c, like how to narrow down the message, the audience, how to approach things, how to be more professional showing up in spaces. You know, it's all of that. And that's the wonderful part about failing things is you're
You got
constantly,
a lot of lessons to learn
you got
from.
so many lessons. And like, you know, you got like 3 MBAs in you
Yeah.
of
That's how I feel, like, especially with content creating. I begin, I was really trying to push to be a photographer, but I just said it yesterday that I was like, I don't think I care to do photography as a profession. I care to do it as a creative process. Like, as like, I want people to see my work as not like what you need to see on a magazine, or I want you to see it and be like, this makes me feel like I did this photo shoot in a bodega here, and basically made it was during COVID, and I make it look like this is the new norm, and I have this crazy alien mask on that looks like I'm from another planet. I've got all of these things. It looks post-apocalyptic, and I'm looking at this sign that says keep 6 feet away from me. Like, I want to just create because it feels fun,
yeah,
on that level. So I had to stop trying to create photography content. So so when you say failing, I failed a lot on the photography content to get to the point where I was like, you know what, that isn't really for me. I don't because I can't travel the world, pandemic. Uh, so I couldn't get these shots like all of these people were getting. So I had to, like, you're right. You have to fail at some things to be like, that ain't really for me.
yeah. Yeah, that's all it is. It's that's not really for me, or this is more for me, and you're really just fine tuning. I just this morning I shared something that's like that guy chiseling himself out of a solid block. You know,
Hmm.
you've seen that. Like, and that's all we're ever doing. That's all we're ever doing is just, you know, getting off the rough edges
Yeah,
and getting
smoothing it out.
smoothing it out into our final form, which is, even that is relative because
Right, because I don't know if it actually exists or if we just move on to another.
yeah, transit for sure.
That was the other thing that came up. You said death earlier, or die.
Yeah, yeah.
And um, that was one of the things that I had to sort of come to grips with in the isolation thing too. Is like, well, if I know that nothing is really promised, like if I know the next breath that I take isn't really promised, um, do I want to take that breath and have to think to myself, I didn't do what I think I came here to do?
Hmm.
Because then how sad is that? How sad is that, moving on to this next existence? Sad. And if I do, if all the people who have experienced near death experience are true, there's this catalog that you have to sort of run through. And I had gotten sick. It was not COVID. I have never gotten COVID somehow. I got one of those crazy immune systems, but I was sick during that time. And I kept thinking to myself, like, I was so sad because I was just like, I didn't do what I want to do. Like, I sold out. I kept selling out. I kept saying, let me get this job and then I'll do that. And let me get this. So it really was like, you know, I think,
Prolonging that trauma, really. That's what you're talking.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just like, fuck, dude. Like, so do I want to die? Just being like, fuck, okay, here's the fucking fuck ups that I did. You know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I set forward to be like, no, do what do you want? What do you want out of this life? What do you want? I
Yeah.
want to be a creative. I want to create every day. And I do. I create every single day. I am either making a video, making a podcast, you know, trying to get more videos, trying to get my way into getting onto other podcasts,
Yeah.
trying to, like, that's my goal for this year, is to try to do other podcasts besides mine so I can get my voice out there. Again,
Sure.
it's like you have to pick yourself up and keep going. That's the thing about the fails, is that
Yeah.
you do, like, you got to keep going.
Yeah. That's where I go back to that fairness, though, because I do think, and it's so much of it. It's the fairness, it's the accountability, because when you hold that mirror to yourself and look at all the places where you held yourself back or held yourself within those cages without just opening the door and flying away. Uh, the other side of that is creating. The other side of that is the actions, the inspired actions. And when you have the idea, take some action on it immediately, because you don't know how long that energy is going to be with you, you know.
Yeah.
And and also the other part about being an artist and building communities is the community aspect, because even like this, we found each other to come and connect and collaborate on something. And when I go tell other people about you or vice versa, that'll be like another ripple. That's the ripple.
Yes, that's what I love about the podcast. It's well, one, any frequency that we make travels throughout space.
Yeah.
So that's why I say talk to yourself. It's
Yeah.
okay to talk to yourself, because there is some fucking alien somewhere who is hearing it somehow, because it's reverberating through space and time. So podcasts are even more, because now they've made this mega wave that sort of amplifies it, and it's being played in cars, and it's being played in office buildings, and it's just beautiful. I don't
You said it.
even know how to
It
explain it.
was a word, right? And then
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's crazy. Like, say the things, put it out there, because like you never know what's gonna bounce it back. Like, I really try to okay. So also I practice not saying all of the things, but saying the things that you feel must, like, and it'll come out of you. It'll be those moments where you're like, I don't know why it just came out of me.
yeah,
But say the things, like allow. That's why I say there's so much freedom in communicating and talking and confronting those uncomfortable conversations, because cellularly, like, the waves are
yes,
changing in our body. When I
absolutely.
first started trying to be upfront with people, it was so hard. My heart would start racing. It would feel like my heart was in my throat. I'm
Yeah,
swallowing like crazy. I'm shaking. Now I'm just like, all right, I had to rekindle a friendship. I was like, we're going to do this, but we need to talk about boundaries. And before, I would never have said that. But now I'm like, look, I got to get this out the way, because look, at least when it's all said and done, you know why anything is the way it is.
hmm,
Clear communication. Nobody gets let down. Everybody understands what's going on. Again, it changes us as who we are. My relationship with my roommate is the best relationship that I think that I've ever had, as far as being able to just say the things. And yes, it's probably uncomfortable for him. It's sometimes uncomfortable for me, but like, we just get there. We just say, fuck it. We got to do it. Like, at some point, we got to do it. And I can feel inside of me that it's like, man, I have not been like this with anybody that I know. Like, even people that I've been in relationships for years, I have not been able to be like, maybe you should examine yourself on that. Or maybe I need to check in with why I'm acting the way I am, and what expectations I'm creating that you aren't
yeah,
even capable of.
yeah,
And that when the situation arises again, I don't have to be frustrated or angry about it. Be like, oh well, we've already talked about this. I know what's happening. Um, Now what do I do? You know, how do I want to handle myself? How do I want to conduct myself? Like, I've not had, like, it feels free, because I'm like, I don't feel unsafe with this person.
totally.
We're like friends that I've had for years. I've just recently been like, oh, this feels like an unsafe zone.
Yeah, that's that thing of somebody you've known for 3 minutes or 30 years. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you feel safe and you feel the vibrations are, a match, then you can go deeper, and you could just go to a different place where everything is authentic, like right
Yeah.
on the surface. And if you're gonna dive deep, you can swim together into those areas and like be like, okay, okay, like
Help each
and
other make
move
it
forward.
through. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, another one of my friends that, again, you said knowing each other for 3 minutes. So when I went for to take this full circle, and we'll wrap this
Yeah.
up. We'll take it back to yoga. When I went to my yoga teacher training, right before I met you,
Okay.
I guess we sort of have known each other about the same time as this friendship that I formed while I was in the Bahamas.
Okay.
I met my friend who does the podcast with me, Elonda.
Yes.
Um, she was in the midst of transitioning out of, a few rough situations relationship wise, and she was there. She worked in the kitchen, and when you do your TTC, you have to do like karma work. So you have to work in the kitchen, the garden, or wherever they in the office. So
Sure.
I worked in the kitchen.
Um,
And immediately once I got there, I recognized that, you talk about finding your own way in like spirituality or finding your own way through the gurus and what they say. It was definitely a lesson of that, of being like, okay, these people are preaching one thing, but their lifestyles don't actually align with like real reality.
mhm.
Um, and I was having this struggle with that because I was like, one, one, and I'll just say this as the like baseline of how it was. So, and I just talked about this in one of my posts. Anyways, so I asked one of the swamis that are there about. So every day we go to these classes, and there's this story about the swami that we all studied in. I don't want to say his name because
Great. Yeah.
he has. It has been come to the attention that he might have sexually assaulted a slew of people.
Okay.
So I don't want to give him any props for that. Again, taking accountability for what you believe in, right? I'm gonna not say somebody's name in order to not help them. But anyways, one of the swamis, we talked about this story, or they show us the story about him flying over the Berlin Wall, and it was supposed to be this big peace thing about like you know the situation in Berlin during the time.
Yeah.
So we had watched that, and then we had this class like right after it, and in the class I kept trying to figure out, because there's never really this idea about like race when it comes to yoga spirituality.
Okay.
It really just basically tells you to love everybody and to be of service of them. So I was like, okay, so what does that mean? Because in a way, when you listen to these stories of these swamis, they sort of stood up in the name of injustices.
Mhm.
From what I was hearing, from what we were reading and all of the stories that we were reading,
Yeah.
I was like, they seem like they stood up for injustice. Like there's all these like crazy swami stories where they're like, you know, peaceful beings in the name of violence and like helping the situation become a peaceful situation. Like what I thought I was going to be learning when I got there. So there is a point where I asked the Swami, "What about race?" And he basically said that that was like a first world problem, like that doesn't even come in close to where yoga spirituality comes in, and like to not even worry about it. Like he like basically spiritually bypassed over it, and I was like, and like in front of a whole crowd of people, and I think everybody was kind of like, because I was like, so what do we do? Like as yogis, what is, because that's what I'm thinking I'm here for. Like, how can we be the peacemakers? How can
Yeah.
we,
You're all
how can,
from the States. Like,
yeah, how can we be like these people who are like illegally flying planes over and dropping marigolds all over Berlin, the Berlin Wall? Like that's fucking protested in like, like, so I'm thinking like, how they're going to give us the like, how to stand up for the injustice.
sure.
Um, he said, no, don't ask. Like, he almost was like, don't even ask me that question because it doesn't even make sense to the idea of yoga and spirituality. So I am upset by this. So I go and I'm like in the kitchen and I'm just trying to keep to myself. And some reason she comes over and she's working with me, washing the dishes. Cause I was like, I'll wash the dishes because everybody else was young and didn't really wash dishes too well.
Sure.
So I was like, I'll wash the dishes, make sure everything's clean. Cause we all eat out of the same pot.
Yeah.
So we're talking and I was just like, I don't know what I'm experiencing here. And she asked me, how's your TTC going? And I was like, I don't know what I'm experiencing. And I literally, when I say, I don't know why I said that, because I don't know if something in me knew she was safe, but
Yeah.
she was safe,
Yeah.
like, and it just came out of me. And she was like, I can see that. We'll talk after this.
Yeah.
Then we didn't talk about it anymore because it was like it was this mixed company that I think everybody else, and when I say mixed company, I mean everybody else would have went with the size of the yogis. And
Yeah.
she's like, some things in life you have to learn to take in
Yeah.
and
And she
understand.
gave you, even in that moment, a little container, like she gave you a little safe space, like where you even yourself got to put it down for, and
Yeah.
and
And I
you,
was able to express myself and tell her clearly, like, this is what I feel like. And she was like, I thought the same thing. And she had taken her TTC years before, and she just randomly happened. Like, that's why I say when things are meant to be, when you said your energy draws the things near,
yeah,
my energy drew her and these other women of color, because
yeah,
there was only a handful of us there
yeah,
together to come to help me and say, look, like, I know you thought the day you were going to get this enlightenment, but it's just like anything else. Like, nobody knows how to deal with it. And I was just like, but I for 3 seconds, I knew this woman from my end. Like, I swear, and even to this day, you would swear we've known each other all of our lives. We talk for like 6 hours. And that's what I mean, like that magnetism, like, but again, liberate yourself, because she loves me just for who I am, and that's what drew her in. And I was like, I have to remember that, like, because I've had a wonky year with friends, and I've just been like, I don't know how to navigate this. Like, it feels like everybody's showing up because they know that I'm the star of the show. And I don't say that in a cocky way, but I literally, like, I mean, we go out, and I went out the other day. I was on the metro, and the guy was like, "What show are you on? Who are you?" And I had to tell myself a week later, or not even a week later, months later. I just realized I was walking back to the metro, and I was like, "I really thought I was famous." I was like, "Shit, he saw me as me." Like,
yeah.
who the future version of me is actually going to be. And I'm up here like, Niall, no, I'm not famous. Bitch, you better say yes, I will be soon. Here's my name, here's my information. Like,
Totally, totally.
like, yeah, she is a amazing being. So I love when that your energy draws everything to you, because I swear to God, I was going to not have a great time in the Bahamas during my TC, because I was almost devastated. One, by the Europeans and how they acted at the retreat that we were at, and then by these swamis who sort of wasn't trying to address like modern day problems. And I should know better, because we'll have like 15,000-year-old teams that they're working from. They don't know how to like assess it. Like, again, I have to take my accountability for what I created as an expectation for a situation. How could they know when they don't even have modern day? Like, they're talking about we eat clean food and eat Ayurvedic, and they got they won't let you have garlic, which is an antibiotic, but they will have jelly with high fructose corn syrup in it. And I was just like, Jarvis,
Yeah,
change your expectations. They're just trying to make it happen. They're just trying to get through it, just like you're trying to get through it. Like, it's you who keeps doing that weird creation of thinking like it's going to be this great thing. Like, I get that I want it to be that, but then I had to like readjust and figure out how to have a good time there. And then the Bahamas became paradise.
I'm happy to hear that you got to experience that, and that she was that for you, and you got to have the whole feeling with the energy and all of that, and just happy that from there you're where you are now, and you're sharing your light and your yoga with the world, and even more. um,
Yeah.
I want to wrap this up because we've been at it a long time, and I'm appreciative of you sharing your time and sharing some of your experiences here, and I want
Well,
to.
I appreciate you allowing the space to be created. I think that that's one thing that needs to happen more often in this world. People create spaces for people. Like, allow everybody to have their own space. And
This thought came to me earlier, and it's so silly, but I also think it would be so fun. Uh, you know, what's like the game where you sit on the chairs and you go in a circle or something?
musical chairs.
Musical chairs. Okay.
Hmm.
Like musical chairs, or sometimes they play it with cakes, and like they take away a chair
Yeah.
and then the last person gets a cake. Well, you were talking about something, and I was just thinking about how important it is for us to have conversations with people that are not like us, don't look like us,
Yes.
ages from us, different backgrounds and stuff. I was thinking like, what a fun dinner series where like if you signed up with like your neighbors and like the 12 houses or something, and almost like musical chairs, like you had to have dinner at the next house each week, and
Interesting.
but everyone had to have dinner at the next house. So like you'd be on a rotation, so you wouldn't be with the same group every time, and you'd be in a new house every time. But just so you could spark those conversations, like
Yeah.
house dinners or something. I don't know why.
See, but you know what's crazy is like it's just something as simple as that makes people so uncomfortable. Like there used to be a series here in Chicago where it was like porch theater,
Hmm.
and they would do like scenes from different plays, and you would go from house to house in a neighborhood.
Uh huh.
Um, and people, I think, began to feel so uncomfortable of like, having to have people in their house that like less and less people were signing up to have performances at their house because some of them like during the winter you have to be inside people's
Hmm.
houses and they were just it's so amazing how uncomfortable we are to even just have to approach the idea of sharing somebody else's space and understanding somebody else's culture and understanding somebody else's life like and I'm saying this because I want this to be amplified. We have to check in with ourselves and how we are putting up walls to things that we know nothing about at all. Like if you don't know, find out.
Yeah.
Or at least attempt if you care about humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just watching Post Malone of all people talking
Yes.
to NASA astronauts, and some of the astronauts, like on the space station, were saying one of the beautiful things that they see or observe from that
Space.
perspective is no borders anywhere in the planet.
Yeah.
You're just looking down at this beautiful blue,
Rock.
and everyone is equal, and everyone
Yeah.
is just there or there, but there's no dividers except for like weather patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I like
Uh,
that. I like the idea that we're all just sort of, well, one day.
yeah. Hey, where can people find you?
On Instagram, I'm actually the Trials of Van Archie Panther, like the Midlake album, The Trials of Van Archie Panther. But you can also, I think, look up Akacius Paige on there. Akacius Paige is my alter ego. That is my creative being that you see out there,
That's what the
just
guy in the banner
strapping.
saw. He saw Acacia's page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On TikTok, I'm the same thing as Acacius Page, and on YouTube, I am Acacius Page. You can also check out my podcast, which is called Unavoidable Shit with Jarvis and Elonda, on Google, Apple, Spotify, and all other streaming services.
Thank
I
you.
think that's it. I think that's all that I have.
I'll share notes to that,
Yeah.
links so people can find you. Just once again, I appreciate you, Jarvis.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Happy to see you growing, going, contributing.
Yeah.
Sharing.
Doing the best I can what I got.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's felt. So I know you're doing well. I know
Yeah.
you're doing well, and that's it. And just keep loving, keep giving it out there to people, and you know,
Yeah.
thank you for giving it here and sharing.
Thank you. You're on the way. We're all on the way.
We're all on the way. Yeah,
We're all, it's just time.
we're all just walking each other home, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just time, seeing what everybody's doing, figuring out our own thing. It's just time.
Yeah.
What does Talking Head say? This is the last thing I'm going to say. Time isn't after us. Time isn't holding us. Same as it ever was.
Oh, I like it.
Same as it ever
Same it as it was. Yep.
was.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and it's the start of a week. So go out there and be productive and do well in the world.
Right on.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, Jarvis.